Put the wallet down. The command cracked across the nearly empty lobby just as Malcolm Reed reached the glass doors. He stopped beneath the cold white lights, one hand holding a brown leather wallet with a silver clasp, the other raised where everyone could see it. I'm trying to return it. Then why are you running? Malcolm turned slowly. Grant Holloway stood near the service elevator in a navy suit, his expression calm enough to look reasonable and sharp enough to make the accusation feel official. Two security officers moved toward the doors while the last employees of the evening slowed to watch. Outside, beyond the revolving glass, a black woman in a charcoal coat had almost reached the curb. Malcolm had seen the wallet fall from beneath her arm less than a minute earlier. The clasp had opened when it struck the marble floor, revealing a thick fold of cash and a black access card marked executive level. He had closed it immediately. He had not counted the bills. He had not searched for a name. He had only looked up, seen the woman leaving, and run after her. Now the doors locked with a quiet click. Set it on the counter, said Owen Pike, the senior security guard. Malcolm walked back without protest and placed the wallet beneath the desk lamp. Seal it, he said. Grant gave a small smile. That won't be necessary. It is if you're saying I stole something. A few employees exchanged glances. Tyler Voss, another contract worker, leaned against a marble column and gave a low laugh. Man, just give it back. You got caught. Malcolm looked at him once, then returned his eyes to Owen. Write down the time. Have someone else watch. Then call the woman who just walked out. Owen reached for the wallet. I need to check what's inside. Malcolm placed 2 fingers beside it, not touching the leather. Not without a witness. Grant stepped closer. His voice remained soft, almost sympathetic. Mr. Reed, innocent people usually cooperate. I am cooperating. You ran toward the exit with someone else's property. I ran toward its owner. The fluorescent lights hummed above them. Beyond the windows, evening traffic moved through downtown in ribbons of red and white, indifferent to the judgment forming inside the building. Malcolm could feel his phone vibrating in his pocket. His daughter was waiting at school for family reading night, probably watching the door every time it opened. Still, he did not reach for the phone. He kept his hands visible. Grant glanced at Malcolm's temporary badge as though it explained everything. How long have you worked here? 3 weeks. And you already know where executive access cards are kept? Malcolm's eyes narrowed slightly. I know what the words executive level mean. Tyler laughed again. No one joined him this time. Outside, the woman in the charcoal coat had stopped beside a black sedan. Through the glass, she turned back toward the lobby. She could not hear the words, but she could see Malcolm standing alone while 3 men surrounded the wallet. She did not enter yet. She watched. Owen pulled a clear evidence pouch from beneath the counter. Grant's expression tightened. This is becoming more complicated than it needs to be. Malcolm nodded toward the security camera above the reception desk. Then check the footage. Grant looked up at the lens. That camera doesn't cover the bench. Check the hallway. No direct angle. Check the doors. Grant's smile disappeared for half a second. It was brief, but Malcolm saw it. I don't need a camera to understand what happened, Grant said. Malcolm looked past him toward the service elevator, measuring the distance. Grant had been nearly 30 feet away when Malcolm picked up the wallet, with a stone column and a tall planter between them. He could not have seen the clasp open. He could not have seen Malcolm's hands. Yet he had spoken as if he had watched every second. Owen slid the wallet into the clear pouch. Before the seal closed, a white parking receipt slipped from beneath the leather and landed face up on the counter. The printed time was 5:47 p.m. Malcolm looked at the lobby clock. 5:48. The woman had lost it less than 60 seconds ago. Grant reached for the receipt, but Malcolm spoke first. Write that down too. The lobby grew quieter. Grant stared at him, then leaned close enough that only Malcolm and Owen could. Here. You should think carefully about what happens next. Temporary workers are easy to replace. Malcolm met his eyes. Truth shouldn't be. Behind the glass doors, The woman in the charcoal coat turned away from the sedan and began walking back toward the building. She had come to retrieve a wallet. Now she wanted to know why a manager had decided a black single father was guilty before anyone had checked a single fact. The woman in the charcoal coat stepped back through the revolving doors just as Owen pressed the seal across the evidence pouch. She moved without hurry, carrying no briefcase, no assistant, no expression that invited attention. To everyone in the lobby, she looked like another executive guest returning for something forgotten. Only Malcolm seemed to notice that her eyes went first to the wallet, then to the men surrounding him. Grant turned toward her with practiced concern. "Ma'am, I believe this belongs to you." The woman stopped at the security counter. "It does." Grant gestured toward Malcolm. "We recovered it before the situation became more serious." Malcolm said nothing. The phrasing settled over the lobby like dust. Recovered, as if he had taken it. Situation, as if his presence itself had become a threat. Tyler folded his arms near the marble column. "I saw him with it open," he said. "He was looking through the cash." Malcolm turned his head. "Where were you standing?" Tyler pointed toward the vending alcove beside the elevators. "Right there." Malcolm looked past him at the thick stone column between the alcove and the bench. "Then you saw through marble." Tyler's smile weakened. Grant stepped in before the silence could deepen. "There is no need for sarcasm. There is no need for a false witness," Malcolm replied. Owen cleared his throat and placed a form on the counter. The time written beside the seal read 5:55 p.m. Malcolm looked at the lobby clock. "That is wrong." "It is close enough," Owen said. The wallet was sealed at 5:49. Grant sighed as if patience were becoming a burden. "Mr. Reed, this attention to detail is not helping you." Malcolm looked at the form, then at the sealed pouch. "Details are the only thing helping me." The woman in the charcoal coat watched him closely. She did not defend him. She did not accuse him. Instead, she asked Owen, "Have you checked whether anything is missing?" Grant answered for him. "We are about to." I asked him. Owen shifted. "Not yet, ma'am." "Have you checked the cameras?" "The main camera does not cover the bench." "The doors?" "Not yet." "The hallway?" Owen glanced at Grant. "Not yet." The woman nodded once, and something in that small motion changed the air. "Then what exactly has been established?" Grant smiled with careful warmth. "Only that a temporary employee was seen moving quickly toward an exit with property that did not belong to him." Malcolm's phone vibrated again inside his pocket. He knew the message without reading it. Nia would be waiting beneath the paper stars in her school library, holding the book they had practiced all week. He had promised he would be there before her name was called. Grant placed another document beside the security form. "There is a simple way to prevent this from becoming a police matter. Sign a voluntary resignation, surrender your badge, and we can close the incident internally." Malcolm stared at the paper. "You want me to confess before you check the wallet?" "I want to protect the company from the truth." Tyler gave a short laugh. "Come on, Malcolm. You have only been here 3 weeks. Take the favor." Malcolm finally reached into his pocket, but not for his phone. He removed a pen. Grant relaxed slightly. Owen looked away. The woman in the charcoal coat remained still. Malcolm placed the pen above the signature line, then paused. The lobby lights reflected against the clear evidence pouch, catching on the silver clasp of the wallet. Something white was trapped beneath the narrow leather strap, a folded scrap of paper with purple marker visible along one edge. Malcolm lowered the pen. "Before I sign anything, preserve every camera feed from 5:42 p.m. through 6:10 p.m. Grant's expression hardened. "That is not your decision." "Then write down that I asked." He slid the unsigned form back across the counter. "And correct the seal time." The woman looked at the small paper caught beneath. The wallet strap. She could make out only part of the childish handwriting. "Daddy, do the right thing." Grant picked up the resignation form and tapped it against the counter. "Human Resources has already been informed. Your assignment ends tonight." "On what evidence?" Malcolm asked. On judgment. Judgment comes after facts. Grant leaned closer, keeping his voice soft enough to sound compassionate. People in your position should know when they are being offered a graceful exit. Malcolm met his eyes. Grace does not require a lie. For the first time, Grant looked past Malcolm toward the woman, perhaps expecting agreement. Instead, she asked, "Did you call him a thief before or after you learned the camera had a blind spot?" Grant blinked. "I never used that word." Owen glanced toward the recording light on the security console. It had been glowing red since the moment Malcolm was stopped. Every sentence had been captured. Every offer. Every accusation disguised as procedure. The woman saw Owen notice it. So did Grant. And in that instant, the manager reached toward the console and said, "We should take this conversation somewhere private." Grant's hand hovered over the security console, but Owen moved first. He placed his palm flat beside the glowing red light and said, "The recording stays on." Grant turned slowly. "That was not a request." "Neither was the preservation notice," Owen replied. The woman in the charcoal coat watched the exchange without changing expression. Malcolm stood beside the counter with his temporary badge still clipped to his shirt, his phone silent now, the unread message from Nia waiting in his pocket. Grant drew a careful breath and lowered his hand. "Fine. We will proceed by policy." The words sounded clean. The room did not. Near the revolving doors, a metal cart struck the edge of a floor mat and tipped sideways. Spray bottles rolled across the marble. A stack of folded towels scattered beneath the benches. Rosa Alvarez, the evening cleaner, grabbed the handle with both hands, but one will had twisted under the weight. "I am sorry," she said quickly. "I will clean it up." No one moved. Owen stayed near the evidence pouch. Tyler smirked and stepped around a bottle as though the mess belonged to another world. Grant looked toward Rosa with irritation. "Not now." Rosa bent down too fast, and a small orange prescription bottle slipped from her apron pocket. It rolled under the bench where the wallet had been found. Malcolm stepped away from the counter. Owen straightened. "Mr. Reed, stay where you are. Her medicine is under the bench. Someone else can get it." No one did. Malcolm crossed the few feet to Rosa, steadied the cart, then crouched and reached beneath the bench. He found the bottle beside one of the scattered towels, checked the name on the label without opening it, and placed it in Rosa's hand. "Sit down for a minute," he said. "I am fine," she whispered. "You are shaking." He lifted the cart upright, locked the bad wheel, and gathered the bottles one by one. Grant's voice sharpened. "You are currently being detained over missing property." Malcolm set the final bottle onto the cart. "Then you know why people should not lose what belongs to them." The woman in the charcoal coat looked at him differently after that. Not with trust yet, but with attention. Rosa lowered herself onto the bench and pressed the medicine bottle against her palm. "He called after you," she said softly. The woman turned. "What did you say?" Rosa pointed toward Malcolm. "When he found the wallet." He stood up and called, "Ma'am, you dropped something." "I heard him." Grant stepped forward with a sympathetic expression. "Rosa, you were working. You may be confused about the timing." Rosa looked at him. "I know what I heard. Did you see whether he opened the wallet?" "No," Grant nodded as if her answer settled everything. "Then you cannot confirm what happened." Malcolm did not ask Rosa to say more. He did not lean on her fear or push her memory past the truth. "She answered your question," he said. "Do not make her answer a different one." The woman in the charcoal coat glanced toward Tyler. "And you said you saw him counting money." Tyler shifted his weight. "That is right." Rosa frowned. "You were by the vending machines." Tyler looked at her. "I could still see the lobby." Rosa shook her head. "The stone column was between you and the bench. You complained because the machine kept your dollar. I heard you hitting the refund button." A few employees near the elevators looked toward the vending alcove. From there, the bench was hidden completely. Tyler's face tightened, but Grant stepped between him and the questions. "Witness memories are imperfect. What matters is the property." Owen picked up the sealed pouch and carried it beneath the brighter inspection lamp. "Then we inventory it now," he said. Grant's jaw flexed. The woman nodded. "With everyone present." Owen cut the outer seal, recorded the time aloud, and opened the brown wallet carefully. He counted the cash without announcing the total, checked the cards, then examined a narrow zippered compartment. His fingers stopped. "There is something else." Grant leaned closer. "What?" Owen removed a black memory card no larger than a thumbnail and held it beneath the lamp. The woman in the charcoal coat went completely still. Grant did not. His reaction came too quickly, a sharp glance toward Malcolm followed by a voice already prepared. "That contains confidential company data." The lobby fell quiet again. Malcolm looked at the card, then at Grant. "How do you know?" For 1 second, Grant had no answer. Then he recovered. "Because executive property often contains sensitive material." Owen placed the card on a clean evidence sheet. The woman's eyes remained on Grant. "You did not know whose wallet it was 5 minutes ago." Grant smiled, but the kindness had left his face. "We now have a far more serious issue than cash." Malcolm looked at the memory card under the white light. He had never touched it, never seen it, and never known it existed. Yet Grant was already speaking as though the accusation had simply changed clothes. The woman in the charcoal coat reached into her pocket, took out her phone, and said, "Then no one leaves until we learn whether that card was accessed, and who was afraid of what it contains." The woman in the charcoal coat made one call, gave only her name, and asked for an information security specialist to join by video. Grant watched her more carefully now. "That card belongs to the company," he said. "It should be turned over to management." "It belongs inside the evidence record until it is examined," Malcolm replied. Grant gave him a patient smile. "You seem unusually familiar with evidence procedures for a temporary inventory worker." Malcolm looked at the memory card beneath the inspection lamp. "I worked hospital supply before this. When controlled medication went missing, every handoff had to be documented. A careless signature could cost someone medicine they needed." Owen wrote the explanation on the incident form. Grant leaned against the counter as though conducting a fair interview. "And yet you have access to storage rooms here. Lower-level inventory rooms. You know how records are organized. That is my job. You have also filed 3 payroll complaints in 3 weeks." The employees near the elevators grew still. Grant had found a story that sounded reasonable. A frustrated worker, financial pressure, access to company systems, and a memory card hidden inside an executive wallet. Malcolm felt his phone vibrate again. This time he took it out only long enough to see the message from Nia. "They moved my reading time to 6:30. Are you coming?" He turned the screen face down on the counter. Grant noticed. "Money is tight, is it not?" Malcolm said nothing. Grant continued gently. "You requested overtime. You disputed your weekend pay. You are behind on something." A folded notice had slipped partly from Malcolm's jacket pocket. Tyler saw it first. "Looks like a school payment reminder." Malcolm removed the paper before anyone else could reach for it. "My daughter's after-school program." Grant nodded with false understanding. "No one is judging you for needing money. You have been judging me since I picked up that wallet. Need creates motive." Malcolm folded the notice once and returned it to his pocket. "Need is not evidence. It is circumstance." The woman in the charcoal coat held his gaze for a moment, but she did not rescue him with sympathy. "Did you know the wallet contained that card?" she asked. "No." "Did you recognize the executive access badge?" "I saw the words when the wallet hit the floor." "Did you open any compartment?" "No." "Would you allow your personal bag to be searched?" "Yes, with a witness, a written inventory, and the recording still running." Grant's smile tightened. A cooperative person would simply hand it over. A careful person makes sure nothing is added and nothing disappears. Owen looked down at the clear evidence sheet. That answer seemed to reach him. He brought Malcolm's canvas lunch bag to the counter, read each item aloud, and placed them where the camera could see. 1 empty thermos, a paperback children's book, a phone charger, a folded work glove, and an apple wrapped in a napkin. No storage device, no cash, no copy of an access card. Nothing that connected Malcolm to the memory card except the accusation already waiting for him. A face appeared on Owen's monitor. The information security specialist introduced herself as Dana Brooks and asked Owen to hold the card closer to the camera. "Do not insert it into any computer," she said. "The card uses managed encryption. The access log can be checked remotely through its serial number." Grant shifted. "How long will that take?" "A few minutes. We do not need a technical delay to resolve an obvious personnel issue." The woman in the charcoal coat turned toward him. "You said the card certainly contained confidential company data. That was a reasonable assumption. You also said it might have been copied. Another reasonable assumption. Before any examination." Grant spread his hands. "I am responsible for risk." Dana read the serial number from the evidence sheet and began searching the secure system. The lobby settled into an uneasy silence. The air conditioning whispered through the ceiling vents. Outside, rain had begun tapping against the glass, turning the city lights into blurred lines of gold. Malcolm stood beneath the same white light, no longer merely accused of taking cash, but of reaching into a system he had spent 3 weeks trying to make pay him correctly. Dana finally looked up. "I found the device." Grant straightened. "Was it accessed?" "The full report is loading now." A progress bar appeared on the screen. The woman in the charcoal coat studied Grant instead of the monitor. "Before we see it," she said, "tell me exactly what you believe is stored on that card." Grant answered too quickly. "Payroll records, internal adjustments, possibly employee complaints." No one spoke. Dana stopped typing. Owen lifted his eyes from the form. Malcolm looked at Grant with a quiet understanding that had not been there before. The woman stepped closer to the counter. "That is remarkably specific." Grant's face remained composed, but one hand closed around the edge of the desk. "I was informed there had been an audit." "By whom?" "Management channels." "Which manager?" The progress bar reached 98%. Grant looked toward the screen, then toward the unsigned resignation form. For the first time that evening, he seemed less interested in proving Malcolm guilty than in ending the investigation before the card could speak. The progress bar reached 100%, but Dana did not read the result aloud. Her eyes moved across the report, then narrowed. Grant noticed. "There is no reason to involve everyone in a technical matter," he said. "Mr. Reed and I can settle this privately." Malcolm looked at him. "You already tried that." Grant gave a tired smile, the kind meant to make resistance look childish. "I am offering you one final opportunity. Sign the resignation, and payroll will release every disputed hour tonight. No police report.
No permanent notation.
You walk away with your money and your dignity." Malcolm glanced at the clock. 6:12. Nia's reading time was 18 minutes away. The school was nearly 20 minutes across downtown in evening traffic. Grant slid the form toward him and placed the pen beside it. "Think about your daughter." The words landed harder than the accusation. Malcolm looked down at the signature line, then at the message still glowing on his phone. "Are you coming?" He could sign, collect the pay he had already earned, and leave before the truth became more complicated. He could tell himself he had chosen his child over his pride. He could even believe it for a while. The lobby grew quiet. Amara watched from the other side of the counter, uncertain for the first time. Owen lowered his eyes. Tyler looked relieved. Grant leaned closer. "No one needs to know." Malcolm picked up the pen. He held it above the page long enough for Grant's shoulders to loosen. Then he wrote a single sentence across the signature line. "Preserve all camera feeds from 5:42 p.m. through 6:10 p.m. He capped the pen and pushed the paper back. "That is my answer." Grant's face remained calm, but the skin near his jaw tightened. "You are refusing a reasonable resolution. You are offering me wages I already earned in exchange for a lie. I am offering you a way home. A man can get home and still lose his way." Amara looked at the writing on the form. Something changed in her expression. Not admiration. Not yet. Recognition. Malcolm was not protecting an image of himself. He was protecting the record. Grant turned to Owen. Preserve the main lobby camera and release the rest according to routine retention. Owen hesitated. He requested all feeds. The main camera is sufficient. It does not cover the bench. Then the others are irrelevant. Malcolm looked at Owen. He did not plead. Write down the instruction exactly as he gave it. Owen's hand moved toward the keyboard. Grant stepped closer. That is an operational directive. The red recording light reflected in Owen's glasses. For several seconds, he said nothing. Then he opened the preservation menu and selected every available feed. Lobby, revolving doors, service elevator, vending alcove, parking entrance, and exterior glass corridor. Grant saw the list. Cancel that. Owen clicked confirm. The request is now logged. A soft tone sounded from the console. Grant stared at him. You are exceeding your authority. Owen kept his voice low. I am preserving evidence. Dana cleared her throat from the monitor. I also have the device report. Everyone turned. The memory card has not been inserted into any external device since it was encrypted at 4:31 p.m. today. There is no sign of copying, access, or modification after that time. Malcolm released a breath he had not realized he was holding. Tyler looked toward Grant. Grant recovered quickly. That only proves he did not access it electronically. He could still have examined the wallet and intended to take it. Amara folded her arms. Your accusation keeps changing, because the risk keeps evolving.
No.
The evidence keeps removing your versions. Dana continued. There is more. One of the preserved feeds triggered an image reconstruction alert. Owen looked at the screen. Which camera? The exterior glass corridor. It does not face the bench directly, but the revolving doors created a reflection across the lobby at the exact time of the incident. Grant's eyes moved toward the doors. Rain streaked the glass, but the polished panels still held faint mirror images of the room behind them.
Dana in la raida frame.
The picture was distorted, broken by metal and reflected light, yet one shape was clear. Malcolm bending near the bench as Amara walked away. Another frame loaded. Malcolm stood. Another. He moved toward the door. Grant stepped into view several seconds later. The footage is incomplete, Grant said. It proves nothing about what happened inside the wallet. Maybe not, Dana replied, but it proves the timeline. Owen enlarged the next frame. In the reflection, Tyler was nowhere near the lobby. His figure appeared on a separate feed in the vending alcove, almost 40 feet away, pressing the refund button on the machine. Rosa had remembered correctly. Malcolm turned toward Tyler. Who told you to say you saw me counting money? Tyler opened his mouth, but no answer came. Grant interrupted. This is becoming a distraction. Then the system displayed one final notice. Audio source available. The exterior corridor camera had no microphone, but the vending alcove did. Dana clicked the file. Grant's recorded voice filled the lobby, quiet but unmistakable. If this goes wrong, say you saw him open it. Tyler's face drained of color. And for the first time that evening, Grant had nothing prepared to say. The recording ended, but its last sentence seemed to remain in the air. Tyler stared at the floor. Owen looked at Grant. Amara did not move. Grant recovered first. That clip is incomplete, he said. You are hearing a fragment without context. Dana's voice came through the monitor. The system preserved 23 seconds before and 41 seconds after that statement. Grant's eyes hardened. Play the full file. Dana did. His voice returned, quieter this time, speaking near the vending alcove. If this goes wrong, say you saw him open it. Keep it simple. You want the permanent position, do you not? Tyler's answer followed, uncertain and low. I did not actually see inside. Then Grant again. You do not need to. People believe confidence. The file stopped. No one spoke for several seconds. The rain tapped against the glass. Somewhere above them, An elevator bell rang and the doors opened to an empty hallway. Grant turned to Tyler with an expression of disappointed concern, as though the younger man had created the entire problem. You misunderstood a discussion about incident reporting. Tyler looked up. You told me what to say. I told you to be clear. You promised me a full-time position. Grant's face changed only slightly, but it was enough. Be careful. Malcolm stepped between the accusation and the frightened silence. Not physically, but with one question. Did he promise you the job before or after I picked up the wallet? Tyler swallowed. Before. Grant shook his head. This is absurd. Amara leaned toward the counter. Why would you prepare a witness before there was an incident? I did not. The recording says otherwise. The recording proves I expected a security concern. Malcolm studied him. You expected me. Grant looked at him for a long moment. I expected trouble from someone who had filed repeated complaints. The words slipped out cleanly, almost professionally. That was what made them worse. Amara's gaze sharpened. Payroll complaints. Grant said nothing. Dana turned back to her report. The memory card contains encrypted audit files, but I cannot open them without executive authorization. Grant reached toward the monitor. Then stopped the review. Amara placed one hand on the sealed evidence pouch. Continue. Grant turned to her. You have no authority to authorize access. Amara removed the black executive card from the wallet and set it on the counter. The silver lettering caught the light. Bennett Meridian, Executive Level, Office of the Chief Executive Officer. Owen looked from the card to her face. Tyler straightened. Rosa covered her mouth with one hand. Grant stared at the name, and for the first time all evening, his composure broke before he could hide it. Amara Bennett entered the authorization code from memory. Dana's screen refreshed. Access confirmed. Ms. Bennett. The lobby fell even quieter. Grant's voice returned in a different register, softer and more respectful. Ms. Bennett, I did not realize you were visiting the building tonight. That was intentional. Then I am certain we can discuss this privately. Mr. Reed was accused publicly. She looked around the lobby. So the facts will be examined publicly. Dana opened the audit directory. Rows of files appeared, each labeled with dates, employee identification numbers, and payroll adjustment codes. Malcolm recognized several weekend shifts he had worked. One file carried his name. Another carried Rose's. Then dozens more filled the screen. These are manual edits, Dana said. Someone reduced recorded hours after supervisor approval. Owen leaned closer. Which account made the changes? Dana selected the access log. Operations Manager, Grant Holloway. Grant lifted both hands. Adjustments are part of my responsibility. Temporary workers frequently enter time incorrectly. Malcolm looked at the dates. Every correction removed overtime. Dana opened another column, and each removed amount was transferred into departmental savings. Amara's expression remained calm, but the calm had weight now. Were employees notified? The system should have notified them. It did not, Malcolm said. That is why I filed 3 complaints. Rosa looked at the screen. My Sunday hours disappeared twice. Tyler whispered, Mine too. Grant stepped back from the counter. This is an accounting issue, not theft. Malcolm's voice stayed low. That is what you called it when you thought the person accused was me. Grant looked toward the doors, then toward Owen, calculating what remained under his control. Amara saw it. Preserve the payroll database, the security recordings, the incident forms, and all messages. Connected to Mr. Reed's complaints. Owen nodded. Dana began locking the files. Grant forced a small smile. Ms. Bennett, you are allowing one misunderstanding to become a spectacle. No, she said. I am allowing evidence to become a record. Tyler suddenly looked at Malcolm. He told me you were going to expose the time edits. He said if the wallet disappeared near you, no one would believe anything you claimed afterward. Malcolm turned slowly toward Grant. The entire lobby seemed to hold its breath. Amara looked at the sealed wallet, then at the man who had been accused beside it. "You were never afraid he took the money," she said. "You were afraid he would return the truth." Grant stood beneath the white lobby lights with every eye on him, yet he still wore the expression of a man trying to appear helpful. "Tyler is frightened," he said. "He is making accusations to protect himself." Tyler looked toward Malcolm, then toward the recording console. "I am telling the truth now." "Now?" Grant asked gently. "After you lied in front of witnesses?" The question was clever. It placed doubt exactly where Grant wanted it, on the weakest person in the room. Malcolm understood the move. So did Amara. She did not accept Tyler's confession as proof by itself. "Dana," she said, "search for messages between Grant Holloway and Tyler Voss from the past 30 days. Preserve them before opening anything." Grant raised a hand. "Private employee communications require legal review." "Legal counsel has already joined the secure call," Amara replied. A second face appeared beside Dana on the monitor, followed by the head of human resources and an internal auditor. Grant's smile faded. Dana searched the company archive. Several messages appeared. Most were ordinary scheduling notes, but one had been sent that afternoon. Grant had written, "Keep Reed near the lobby after his shift. I may need someone who understands the situation." Another message promised Tyler that a permanent role would be discussed after the evening was handled correctly. Tyler closed his eyes. Owen read the words twice. Rosa sat quietly on the bench, holding her medicine bottle with both hands. Grant adjusted his cuff and spoke as though explaining a harmless misunderstanding. "Those messages refer to attendance concerns." Malcolm looked at him. "Then why did the attendance concern begin before the wallet fell?" Grant did not answer. Amara turned to the internal auditor. "Open Malcolm Reed's payroll complaints." 3 forms appeared on the screen. Each one identified missing weekend hours. Each one had been closed by Grant's account without correction. A 4th document appeared beneath them, an unsigned recommendation to terminate Malcolm for conduct concerns. The creation time was 4:52 p.m., nearly 1 hour before Amara dropped the wallet. The lobby became still. Malcolm stared at the timestamp, not because it surprised him, but because it confirmed something colder than suspicion. The decision had existed before the evidence. Grant had only been waiting for a story to attach to it. "You prepared to fire him before the incident," Amara said. "I prepared options. You prepared an outcome. I manage risk." Malcolm's voice was quiet. "You managed the facts until they pointed where you wanted." Grant turned toward Amara. "Ms. Bennett, this man has challenged authority from his first week. He questions procedures, disputes payroll, and encourages other temporary workers to complain." Rosa looked up. "He showed me how to print my timesheet," Tyler added. "He told me to keep copies of mine." Malcolm did not look proud. He simply said, "People should know what they worked." Grant gave a thin smile. "Exactly. He was organizing employees against management." "No," Amara said. "He was teaching them to keep records." The internal auditor opened another file. More than 40 workers had lost approved overtime through manual changes. The removed amounts were small enough to escape attention 1 paycheck at a time, but together they formed a pattern. Dana traced the edits to Grant's account. The security recording captured his offer to pay Malcolm only if he resigned. The camera disproved Tyler's original story. The device log cleared Malcolm of accessing the memory card. The termination form proved the decision came first. No single fact carried the whole truth, but every independent line led to the same place. Grant finally lost the softness in his voice. "You cannot destroy my career over clerical adjustments and the word of temporary workers." Malcolm looked at him. "You were ready to destroy mine over less." The words were not loud. They did not need to be. Amara asked Owen to surrender Grant's building access card pending investigation. Owen hesitated, then stepped forward. Before he acted, Malcolm spoke. "Do not remove Owen tonight." Everyone turned. Owen looked confused. Malcolm continued. "He judged me before checking the evidence. That was wrong. But he preserved every camera when he was ordered not to. That matters too. Amara studied Malcolm. You are asking for a second chance for the man who detained you? I am asking you to separate fear from intent. If the company cannot do that, then nothing changed. Owen lowered his head. I was wrong, he said. I saw a temporary badge, a wallet, and a man running. I decided the rest before I knew it. Amara nodded once. Your conduct will be reviewed, but you will remain on duty under supervision. Then she turned to Grant. Your access is suspended because the evidence shows planning, concealment, and retaliation. Grant looked around the lobby for support, but the masks had fallen away. He reached for one final defense. I only acted because I knew Reed might find the payroll files. Silence answered him. Dana stopped typing. The auditor leaned toward the screen. Amara's eyes narrowed. No one had said Malcolm knew the files existed. Grant had just placed that knowledge in his own mouth. Malcolm watched the realization move through the room. Amara turned toward the sealed wallet. Inventory the contents again, she said. Owen counted every bill, checked every card, confirmed the photograph, the parking receipt, and the memory card. Nothing was missing. Not $1. Amara lifted her eyes to Malcolm. You were behind on school payments. Your wages had been reduced. You saw the cash. Malcolm nodded. Amara rested her hand on the brown leather wallet. Then there is only one question left. Amara lifted the wallet from the evidence sheet and held it between them. Why did you not take it? The question was quiet, but it reached every corner of the lobby. Malcolm looked at the brown leather, the silver clasp, the money still resting inside. Because it was not mine. Amara did not look away. That money could have covered your daughter's program. It could have replaced the wages that were taken from you. It still was not mine. Grant gave a bitter laugh from beside Owen. That is easy to say now with everyone watching. Malcolm turned toward him. No one was watching when I closed it. The room went still. Amara opened the wallet one final time, checked the cards, then pressed the clasp shut. As she did, the folded scrap of paper caught beneath the strap slipped free and floated onto the counter. Purple marker covered one side in uneven letters. Owen picked it up carefully and handed it to Amara. She read the words aloud. Daddy, do the right thing even when nobody claps. Malcolm's face softened for the first time that evening. My daughter wrote that this morning. Why? Amara asked. She found a pen at school yesterday. She wanted to keep it because it had stars on the cap. I told her finding something does not make it yours. She put that note in my lunch bag before I left for work. Rosa lowered her eyes. Tyler looked toward the floor. Even Grant said nothing. The paper was not proof of innocence. The cameras, the records, the device log, and the recording had already done that. The note proved something evidence could not measure. Malcolm had practiced the same lesson in a small kitchen long before the lesson became expensive. Amara placed the note beside the closed wallet. Mr. Reed, your record will be cleared tonight. Malcolm nodded. Thank you. Your missing wages will be restored. They should be restored for everyone. Amara paused. What else? Malcolm looked around the lobby. Several temporary workers had gathered near the elevators. Some had watched the accusation begin. Others had arrived only after the truth started to surface. No employee should be suspended before the available footage is reviewed. Amara listened. Continue. Any property accusation should require 2 witnesses, a correct timestamp, and a written inventory. Contract workers should be allowed to request the evidence used against them. Payroll changes should send a notice directly to the employee, not only to the manager who made the change. The internal auditor began taking notes. Grant shook his head. Now he is writing company policy because he returned a wallet. Malcolm faced him calmly. I am not asking for your chair. Grant's mouth tightened. Then what are you asking for? A system that does not crush the next person just because someone decides they look easy to blame. Amara looked toward the employees gathered in the lobby. Effective immediately, Grant Holloway is suspended pending an independent investigation. All payroll records connected to his account will be reviewed. Every missing hour will be repaid where the records support it. Grant turned to her. You are making a public spectacle out of an internal matter. The humiliation was public, Amara said. The correction will not hide in a conference room. Owen removed his own security badge and placed it on the counter. I should be suspended too. Amara looked at Malcolm. He did not answer for her. Owen continued. I decided he was guilty before I checked anything. I followed the easiest version. Malcolm studied him. Then do not follow the easiest version next time. Owen nodded. I will not. Amara told him to keep his badge until the review was complete. Tyler stepped forward next. Elite. His voice barely carried. Grant promised me a permanent job if I supported his report. Malcolm looked at him without satisfaction. Correct it in writing. I will. And do not call it confusion. Tyler swallowed. I will call it what it was. Grant looked around the room, searching for one last opening. He is using this moment to make himself important. Malcolm turned toward him. Dignity is not what people give you after they believe you. It is what you refuse to surrender while they do not. No one applauded. The air conditioner hummed above them. Rain whispered against the revolving doors. The small click of the wallet closing seemed louder than anything that had been said. Grant looked away. Tyler lowered his head. Owen stood straighter, not from pride, but from responsibility. Amara remained beside the counter, her hand resting near the note written in purple marker. Then Malcolm's phone vibrated. He looked down. Nia had sent one final message. Are you still coming, Daddy? Malcolm checked the lobby clock. 6:23. 7 minutes remained before her reading began. Amara saw the screen. We still need your formal statement. Malcolm picked up his lunch bag and clipped his temporary badge back onto his shirt. My daughter needs my word more. Amara looked at the clock, then at Malcolm. You will not make it across downtown in 7 minutes. Malcolm slipped his phone into his pocket. Then I will be late honestly. Take my car. He hesitated. I am not asking for a favor. You are not. I am correcting a delay this company caused. Malcolm looked toward the rain beyond the revolving doors. A black sedan waited at the curb, its headlights reflecting across the wet pavement. He nodded once. Only to the school. Amara handed the wallet back to Owen for final processing, then turned to Grant. Your access remains suspended. Legal counsel will contact you before morning. Grant said nothing. Without the soft language and polished authority, he looked smaller, not because anyone had humiliated him, but because the truth no longer needed his permission. Malcolm crossed the lobby carrying his canvas lunch bag and the children's book from inside it. Rosa called after him. Tell your daughter her note helped more people than she knows. Malcolm gave her a tired smile. She would probably ask if the pen got returned. The sedan moved through downtown traffic while rain traced silver lines across the windows. Malcolm sat forward, watching every red light. At 6:29, the car stopped outside Lincoln Elementary. He thanked the driver, stepped onto the sidewalk, and hurried through the front doors just as a teacher was closing the library entrance. Mr. Reed, she asked. I am here for Nia. Inside, paper stars hung from the ceiling. Parents sat in folding chairs arranged between low bookshelves. Nia waited at a small table with her feet swinging above the floor, the same blue book open in her lap. When she saw Malcolm, her face changed from worry to relief. You came. He knelt beside her. I said I would. You are 1 minute late. That is true. She studied his face. Did something happen? Malcolm looked at the purple note she had copied onto a second piece of paper and taped inside the book. Something happened. Did you do the right thing? He sat beside her. I tried. Nia nodded as though that was enough, then took his hand and walked with him to the reading chair. Later that night, they returned to their small apartment with rain still tapping against the windows. Malcolm warmed leftover soup while Nia spread her school papers across the kitchen table. She asked about the wallet only once. Was there a lot of money? Malcolm placed 2 bowls between them. Enough to test a man. Did you pass? He smiled. We do not grade kindness, baby. We practice it. 1 week later, Bennett Meridian issued corrections to every employee affected by the payroll changes. Missing wages were restored. Temporary workers received direct access to adjustment records. Property accusations required preserved footage, 2 witnesses, and a written inventory before suspension. Owen remained employed under formal review and completed new training on evidence handling and bias. Tyler submitted a written correction that used the word lie, exactly as Malcolm had asked. Grant faced an independent investigation built on records, recordings, timestamps, and his own words. There was no public spectacle, only a process he had once denied others. Malcolm received an offer for a permanent inventory coordinator position at the same pay level as others with his experience. He accepted because the work fit what he knew, not because anyone called him a hero. Amara also invited him to join a worker policy council. At the first meeting, she arrived without cameras or public relations staff. She placed the repaired brown wallet on the conference table. I thought this wallet showed me who I could trust, she said. Malcolm looked at the silver clasp. It showed you who your system was prepared not to trust. Amara accepted the answer without defending herself. She proposed an emergency assistance fund for employees facing sudden hardship. Malcolm agreed on 2 conditions. The fund would not carry his name, and no worker would be required to tell a painful personal story to prove deservingness. Help should not cost people their privacy, he said. The policy passed. That evening, Malcolm returned home before dark. Nia sat at the kitchen table coloring stars onto a new note. Who is that for? He asked. Me, she said. So I remember too. Malcolm placed the old purple message inside his lunch bag again. Outside, the city remained loud, restless, and full of people making quick decisions about strangers. Inside the small kitchen, no one applauded. No one needed to. A father had kept his word to his daughter. A woman with power had chosen to change more than one man's paycheck. A frightened guard had been given room to become better. And a company had finally learned that respect should not arrive after innocence is proven. It should be present before suspicion begins.